Under the towering spires of the Galactic Council Hall, the murmurs of dissent grew louder. Species from across the stars, scaled, silicon-skinned, luminous, gathered, their gazes converging on a solitary human figure at the center of the chamber. Ambassador Elena Miles stood still, hands folded, expression unreadable, as the chamber's ambient lights refracted off her diplomatic insignia. No emotion, no fear. Just silence. Humanity's entry into the Council had been controversial from the start. A race born in war, thriving in chaos, their technology inferior in elegance but lethal in application. Some called them volatile, unpredictable. Others whispered admiration cloaked in caution. To most, they were a curiosity, tolerated, not trusted. Elena was Earth's chosen voice, selected less for political polish and more for her composure under pressure. In a council filled with flamboyant negotiators and telepathic manipulators, she was a monolith of calm. She never raised her voice. She never broke form. Today, her composure was being tested. Councillor Cern of the Tarnathi, a species that claimed moral superiority and military dominance in equal measure, paced the platform. His carapace gleamed under the chamber lights, mandibles twitching as he accused Earth of violating a border accord near Sector Theta 17. A small scout vessel, allegedly human, had crossed into restricted space. No damage, no violence, but a breach nonetheless. Elena responded with precision. That sector is unclaimed by any ratified treaty. The coordinates do not fall under exclusive sovereignty. A chorus of languages erupted, chittering, clicking, droning harmonics, interpreted in real time. Her words, logical and restrained, were met with scorn. Cern hissed. You hide behind technicalities. Your kind probes borders like predators testing fences. She didn't flinch. We respect all sovereign claims. We do not recognize phantom lines drawn in disputed void. The tension was tangible. Elena felt it not in her body, but in the shift of attention, the growing hunger for escalation. The Council was not here to debate. They were here to condemn. They wanted fear. Submission. Councillor Velsai of the Oath joined in, her gelatinous form rippling with disdain. You bring war-born instincts into halls of peace. Perhaps Earth is not ready for civilized discourse. Elena's eyes moved to her. Perhaps civilization has forgotten what survival looks like. The chamber froze for a moment, the echo of her words louder than any outcry. A calculated risk. She knew the profile Earth had been assigned, pragmatic, reactionary, dangerous. She also knew restraint would be mistaken for weakness. But fire, too early, would confirm their fears. Timing was everything. Cern's tone shifted from rhetorical to threatening. We will not be patient while predators prowl our borders. If the Council lacks the spine to act, then the Tarnathi will act alone. Elena remained motionless. Unilateral aggression against a member species would constitute a violation of Council Charter Article 7. Only if your species remains a member. Cern growled. Without warning, a pulse of raw force surged across the floor. A focused psychic projection, blunt, not fatal, but invasive. The kind used to subdue prisoners. It struck Elena like a mental hammer. She staggered slightly, a sharp breath escaping before she straightened. Eyes locked forward. Unshaken. A wave of murmurs broke out. Some delegates recoiled. Others watched with veiled curiosity. No one intervened. Elena's voice returned, sharper than before. This chamber is where words live. You've chosen violence. Remember that. Cern sneered, but said nothing more. She turned. Walked the length of the chamber. No urgency, no fear. Her two guards, silent and unarmed, flanked her without breaking stride. At the doorway she paused. Look back once. You've mistaken silence for submission, she said. You'll learn the difference. Then she was gone. Behind her, the council rippled with dissonance. Some delegates demanded sanctions. Others argued for restraint. Cern called for Earth's immediate suspension. A dozen species abstained from speaking at all. But beneath the noise, a different current stirred. Something unspoken passed through those few who knew better. Those who had studied Earth beyond the surface. Those who remembered that when humanity arrived, they came offering peace, and not because they lacked the alternative. The council reconvened within the hour, this time without the human delegate present. The chamber was louder, charged with vindication. CERN stood again, emboldened, demanding punitive action. They walked out of this body's ruling. That is admission of guilt. That is contempt. Councillor Velsai echoed him. Earth must be suspended until compliance is proven. Non-response is rebellion. No representative defended Earth. Not one voice questioned the Tarnathi's psychic assault on a diplomatic envoy. The incident was already being reframed, from aggression to justified preemption. Elena's restraint had been twisted into proof of fear. Back on Earth's orbital relay, a transmission arrived, encoded and brief. It simply read, Protocol 0 registered. The message was routed to a secure server, ignored by most systems, flagged by only one. Aboard the Tarnathi Dreadnought Far Spear, stationed near human space, Commander Vok received orders. Initiate a security sweep along the contested sector. No weapons fired, just pressure. Show of strength. They wanted to see how far humans could be pushed before breaking. The sweep began. A formation of battlecruisers slid toward the outer rim of Earth's designated zone, pausing just outside formal boundaries. The gesture was legal. Intimidating, but technically within limits. Earth's response was silence. Vok broadcast a signal on open frequencies. Human command, respond. You have violated Council protocols and are now under direct surveillance. Your silence is noted. There was no reply. The silence stretched for minutes. Then hours. Inside the Council chamber, rumors spread. Earth's fleet was repositioning. Satellites across neutral sectors began shutting down. No warning, no known cause. Observation drones failed to transmit. First assumed to be malfunction. Then sabotage. No trace of human signals. Not even encryption. Just void. CERN demanded answers. Where is their ambassador? Why has Earth not issued an apology? Why haven't they explained? Velsai offered a different concern. Why has Earth blacked out all long-range comms within 5 parsecs? What are they hiding? A representative from the Krell, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. You struck a diplomat. CERN turned, seething. You take their side? The Krell Enva's voice remained level. We've studied them. They're not like us. Their silence isn't fear. It's focus. CERN dismissed the notion. They are children with sharp sticks. Now they've run out of games. Another Tarnathi cruiser reported in. Patrol vessel Karnax had attempted to scan a human orbital station. Within minutes, the ship lost power. External sensors melted. Crew reported visual contact with an unknown entity before comms cut out entirely. No weapon discharge. No known interference. Then total blackout. Within another hour, 2 more ships ceased communication. Final logs played back garbled images, fragments of distorted speech, static, and a single human voice. You attacked peace. Council panic rose. Elena's disappearance was now being interpreted differently. Not retreat. Not shame. Strategy. The Tarnathi argued for escalation. Deploy warships. Push into their system. Demand surrender before they mobilize. The Krell warned against it. You've already activated something. If they were bluffing, they'd have spoken by now. But the Council's decision was fractured. Half refused to take sides. A third believed this was humanity's breaking point. The rest silent but watching. Back on Earth, far beneath the Arctic Circle, containment levels fell one by one. Hidden for decades beneath layers of protocol and fail-safes, something ancient stirred. Not alien. Not artificial. Human, but not entirely. The last key had been Elena's injury. Not her death. Just an assault. That had always been the trigger. The chain had begun the moment CERN attacked. Earth never intended to argue. They only needed proof. The facility buried beneath Earth's polar ice had no name, only coordinates known to 12 individuals, 9 of whom were no longer alive. It did not exist on maps, in records, or even in encrypted military archives. It was isolated by design, immune to satellite scans and untraceable by energy signatures. Its silence was not a flaw. It was part of the system. Inside, layered vaults began to open in sequence, each sealed by protocols triggered not by commands but by very specific conditions, an unauthorized strike on a recognized Earth diplomat within Council jurisdiction. No override existed. No manual fail-safe. Once set in motion, it could not be reversed. Project Thanatos was never a weapon in the traditional sense. It was not a bomb, not an AI, not a fleet. It was a decision, embodied in a single construct, the Warden. Human in origin, shaped by the extremities of Earth's darkest experiments, born not in a lab but in war zones, deep prisons, and erased black sites. He was never recruited, he was contained. A last measure. A line drawn in secret beneath diplomacy and treaties, known only to Earth's highest echelon of command. No one had ever seen the Warden in action. There was no test footage. No training logs. Only results. Operations where he had been deployed had no survivors. Not even friendly units. Post-event summaries included phrases like, "Terminated all hostiles before detection," and "No command required once released." His behavior followed a single rule: response proportionate to threat against Earth's sovereign functionaries. Diplomatic aggression met with strategic correction. Prolonged aggression met with systemic dismantling. The diplomatic strike had activated the threshold. Elena's biometric stress signature had been recorded. Neurofeedback confirmed the psychic blow. The system interpreted this not as political theater but as combat initiation. Activation commenced. Back in orbit, Council monitoring stations began experiencing data anomalies. Long-range sensors picked up impossible readings, gravitational fluctuations in localized sectors, brief energy spikes with no known pattern, disappearances of small craft without debris. No explosion signatures. No radiation trails. Just vessels gone mid-transit. The Tarnathi High Command launched recon units toward the outer rim. 2 disappeared before arriving. A third managed partial transmission. The feed cut halfway through a sentence, but 3 frames were recovered. A humanoid figure walking across the hull of a cruiser. No suit. No propulsion. A blur of movement. Then nothing. Internal AI failed to track the point of ingress. No breach detected. Doors remained sealed. Life support untouched. Crews simply went silent. Attempts to trace communications to Earth failed. Every channel beyond low-bandwidth diplomatic lines was dark. No transmissions. No outgoing alerts. As if Earth had disconnected itself from the galaxy entirely. Not in retreat. In preparation. The Council demanded answers. Earth gave none. A single auto-response arrived through official diplomatic nodes. Acknowledged. Response underway. No demands. No threats. Just confirmation. Inside the vault, the Warden's restraints disengaged one by one. Neural dampeners lifted. Muscle inhibitors withdrawn. Environmental controls shifted to allow for optimal metabolic balance. Weapon systems were not necessary. The Warden required none. He had not spoken in decades. Had not been awake in years. His last memory was silence. Now, that silence had purpose. When he stepped out of containment, the facility registered no deviation from expected parameters. Heart rate stable. Neural pattern within range. No emotion. Elsewhere on Earth, military leaders were informed of Stage 2 progression. No deployment orders needed. No oversight required. The protocol was self-sustaining. Every asset the Warden needed was already aligned. He would not target worlds. He would not wage war. He would simply correct the problem, efficiently, permanently. In the Council, arguments turned to fear. This was no longer about politics. It was control slipping. Not from systems or armies, but from understanding. They had assumed Earth feared them. They had never considered Earth feared itself. The first confirmed strike occurred near the neutral trade corridor of Sigma Route 12. A Tarnathi heavy cruiser, fully armed and escorted by 2 corvettes, vanished from all tracking systems. No alarms. No distress calls. Just silence. Moments later, station sensors recorded fragments. Molecular-level disassembly of hull composites scattered over 30 kilometers. No known technology could achieve that without exotic radiation signatures or prolonged exposure. The analysis returned a disturbing result: no signs of energy weapons, impact damage, or chemical reactions. Just absolute material failure, induced by unknown forces. Council analysts were baffled. The warden's presence was never confirmed. He did not broadcast. He left no trail. Every data log ended abruptly, often mid-frame. All visual captures, where they existed, were corrupted, time-stamped only seconds before total system collapse. Panic began to grow among Tarnathi leadership. Command posts shifted deeper into core territory, far from the edges of disputed zones. Recon missions ceased. Delegations withdrew their envoys from human space. Council pressure built on Earth to respond, to clarify, to explain. Earth remained silent. The protocol didn't include diplomatic re-engagement. Once triggered, it was designed to continue until the initiating force, external aggression, was fully neutralized. Several species attempted to contact the warden directly, assuming he was operating through AI or could be reasoned with. No answer. Others tried to trace him through human military channels. Every attempt was met with firewall deadlocks and cold-loop reroutes that led nowhere. Meanwhile, isolated events multiplied. Entire surveillance arrays blinked out within seconds of detecting movement. Mining stations operating near the outer edges of human-claimed sectors went offline, their emergency beacons activating too late to transmit. One outpost managed to eject a single log, a crew member whispering, "He walked through the walls," before static drowned everything. By the 5th day, 22 vessels had been lost. No pattern in mass, class, or function, only affiliation. Every target had direct or indirect connection to the Tarnathi or any species supporting punitive actions against Earth. Each strike was surgical. No collateral. No planetary harm. Just isolated erasures. The Council convened an emergency session. CERN was absent. His command ship had gone dark en route to a neutral zone. No evidence remained. Not even debris. The Tarnathi delegation collapsed into chaos. Their ambassador called for an immediate ceasefire, not with Earth, but with whatever force was executing the retaliation. The rest of the Council debated whether Earth had lost control or had never relinquished it to begin with. Velsai proposed a joint intervention, suggesting that the Warden, though unnamed, was a rogue element. That Earth may have released something they could not recall. But the Krell, now central to the conversation, disagreed. "They have not lost control," the Krell envoy said flatly. "This is control. You struck them on a stage of law, and they responded with a law you never imagined." Council records began reflecting internal fractures. Half the members now feared Earth more than they had ever feared the Tarnathi. Others considered fleeing the galaxy's core altogether. Still, some argued for transparency, forcing Earth to disclose the extent of its protocols. Those voices went quiet when Council intelligence reported the Warden had been sighted in Council space. He had entered without permission. Passed through 8 border checkpoints, not by stealth, but because no system registered him as a threat. There were no scans, no biosignatures, no presence on military networks. He was invisible not because of cloaking, but because the very tools designed to detect war did not recognize him as such. He did not engage. He only observed. From orbit. From stations. From shadows. That night, 6 more vessels vanished. One belonged to a private defense contractor that had lobbied for Earth's expulsion. Another was a reconnaissance ship en route to survey Earth's outer ring. It became evident this was not retribution. This was instruction. Message through elimination. You do not attack a diplomat. You do not strike peace. And when you do not dictate the terms of what follows. On the seventh day, Earth finally broke its silence. A single transmission was sent to the Galactic Council, unencrypted, unembellished, and impossible to misinterpret. The message bore no visual, only audio, Elena Miles' voice, clear and deliberate. This is not a war. It is a reset. You knew the rules. You broke them. No demands followed. No timelines. No conditions. Just closure. Within minutes, all Council-linked networks experienced a forced cascade reboot. Communication lines redirected. Data streams rerouted. Earth systems re-engaged, but not to explain, only to watch. They had nothing left to say. The Warden's pattern shifted. He no longer targeted ships. He focused on infrastructure, command satellites, surveillance stations, relay hubs. Not destroyed, deactivated. Systematically removed from function without violence. Everything that enabled projection of force or control beyond a species' own borders was stripped. Tarnathi fleets attempted to reposition near their home system. They never arrived. Exit points from hyperspace became dead zones. No hostilities. Just interdiction beyond comprehension. Vessels rerouted without engines firing. Some ended up precisely where they started, hours lost with no memory of transit. Others re-entered space missing time and personnel, with no damage and no signs of breach. The psychological toll escalated. Crews refused deployment orders. Civilian panic surged. Multiple border species severed diplomatic ties with the Tarnathi to avoid being associated with the original breach. Their ambassadors released public statements reaffirming Earth's sovereignty, recognizing the assault on Ambassador Miles as an act of unlawful aggression, and pledging neutrality moving forward. Inside the Council, fear mutated into compliance. The motion to suspend Earth was formally withdrawn. Instead, a vote passed to issue a retroactive censure against the Tarnathi for violation of interspecies diplomatic integrity. No one objected. Even the Tarnathi delegate, a replacement chosen under duress, voted in favor. He knew refusal was meaningless. The Warden, now known in whispers across the galaxy, was never directly addressed by name. But he had become a fixture in every closed-door session, every military council, every back-channel exchange. No longer a ghost. Now a certainty. The Krell issued the most direct summary. Earth is not dangerous because of what it builds. It is dangerous because it never forgets. And when provoked, it does not escalate, it concludes. By day 10, every system involved in the initial accusations against Earth had publicly reversed their positions. Apologies followed, thinly veiled as clarifications. Not once did Earth acknowledge them. Instead, a final signal was sent. Short. 4 words. The matter is closed. With it, the Warden's activity ceased. Disappearances stopped. Sensor anomalies faded. All previously disrupted systems resumed function. No remnants of the protocol remained in active orbit. Earth didn't celebrate. No news broadcasts. No statements. Internally, the activation of the Warden was logged, reviewed by a closed tribunal, then sealed again. Files were locked under new conditions, activation only possible if another sovereign representative suffered direct assault under diplomatic protections. The bar remained exactly where it had been before. Elena Miles returned to the Council 2 weeks later. No guards. No announcement. She walked into the chamber during an open session, took her seat without comment, and resumed participation as if no interruption had occurred. Not a single delegate questioned her return. They gave her the floor without objection. Her first words back were procedural, measured, forgettable. She addressed the Council's agenda without a single reference to what had transpired. But none forgot. In the silence that followed Earth's response, a new paradigm formed. The Council didn't fear Earth's fleets or weapons. They feared Earth's decision-making. Its precision. Its resolve. Its capacity to act without bravado or vengeance, and with finality. For years to come, no species dared test Earth's limits again, not because of threats, but because of the absence of them. In the end, Earth had changed nothing about itself. The galaxy had simply been reminded of what it meant when a quiet world decided to act.